Filmo is a total property services company. We've been around for 20 years, so obviously it started before me, and we've been into developments, into property management, and into maintenance. So in the construction and project management, all the way through to the leasing and marketing of properties, then to the maintenance of the assets. Furthermore, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've had a reinvention of Filmo. And Filmo, obviously under new leadership, a younger person, I'm only 31, we reinvented ourselves to become more of a millennial product. So we're a much younger team, a much more innovative team, and we've tried to incorporate technology, processes, and and to set a new standards of property services in the industry. I don't hide the fact that I had no experience in properties before I came and sat on this table as CEO of Filmo Group, starting as GED of Filmo Group. And I think what that did was that I wasn't in any box in believing on how property management or facilities management should actually happen. So I came in from the client perspective. So I had no boundaries in the ideas of what property services, especially facility management, is meant to be. So I came from it. So I think I've come from it from a whole different perspective to the way my competitors look. So I don't know how things are meant to be done. All I know is how things I want to be done. So in a way, I'm a very idealistic person when it comes to the expectations I expect from Filmo and facility management as a whole in Nigeria. So so it's been an interesting thing. There's a lot of trials and errors. But one thing that I know that we definitely don't lack in Filmo is that we keep trying. We keep trying to try new things. We keep trying to push the envelope in what can happen or what is possible when it comes to facility management and maintenance in Nigeria. Filmo, in the last 3 years, we've quadrupled our size when it comes to the size of the company. We've tripled our net profits in 3 years. So it's a great achievement. We increased our portfolio we're at least quadrupled, or at least we have. I mean, when I took over, we had maybe 4 or 5 major clients. We have about 15 major clients now, and we're across 12 states as we speak now. So there's been a huge increase and we did all of this with no financial injection into the business. So it was sheer hard work and innovation. So I think properties is a very vanilla in an industry where there was typically not much innovation. We were able to come in and bring different things onto the table, which I think our clients have responded to, which is why we've been able to grow our portfolio so well. I've been involved in a lot of consultancy too, where we're part of a grouping or coming together of about 3 or 4 different companies who are doing a lot of consultancy work for the federal government as we speak now, where we're in charge of a lot of major parastatals. We're actually in charge of a lot of actual state governments, where we're actually implementing international facility management for public assets for a whole state as we speak now. So that's on the consulting side. So for developing the strategy to maintain all their assets. So yes. So as I said, for someone that has only been in the industry for 3 years, it's a pat on the back. It's not about the money; it's about the accomplishment. And it feels good to know that you have made an impact at that level in a nation. I credit everything in Filmo to our people. I have a huge respect for my team, the people I have here, and why. And I think that we have come from a whole different approach in maintenance that I see my competitors coming from. Whereas I said, starting from me, I had no expectations, no understanding, no limitations of what maintenance in Nigeria is. So as I said, I've been able to be very idealistic in the expectations. Yeah, sometimes maybe I have some crazy ideas that might not go, but then we don't believe that things that we think about will not work. So we come from a client perspective. So yeah, so that was down to my people. That I told you now that average age in my facility, average age here is 30 or below. Facility managers are 25 and above. So and why we did that was that I mentioned to you that we believe that facility management solutions, you're a solutions provider, not a technical person. Technicians are different. Technicians are technical. Facility managers, yes, you should understand the technical part of stuff, but then your job is to provide solutions. So coming from that ideology, what we now did was that we made sure we brought people in that we believe could be molded to this standard of facility management we thought of. And unfortunately, in some of the older people, people are already used to their habits and their way of working, which I think is very lazy sometimes. Not everybody, obviously, but what we did was that we brought in a lot of young, fresher, newer people that only have 1-2 years experience in facility management. And why that we brought them in at that stage is that we want to mold them into this standard of facility management that we want. So we invest a lot in training here. So we actually have a training room in the back of our office where we do our own training. We don't outsource. I have about 200, 150 workforce here. Why I did that is because I wanted to invest in training. So even my technicians, we do a lot of training. Why? Because in facility management, my business is exposed. My business exposed to the people on site, right? It takes just one technician on a site, on a 100 million naira site, to do something silly, and I can lose the whole contract. So at the very beginning, it was a very decisive step. We decided to do that. We were not going to outsource our hard service, and we were going to hire people full time. Why? So we can control our people, and then we're going to invest in our people. So after that, next thing that makes us stand out is our technology. So from our people, it comes innovation. We're a very young team where we're actually a family here. As I said, I'm 31, so we're all the same age group. There's no seniority and stuff. And what happens is, I told you that somebody was talking about drones yesterday, is that we all sit down together and we all take ownership of this business. And we all contribute ideas of how. So we do a lot of things together in this business. We go to seminars together. For Valentine's Day, we went to orphanage together. So we actually make sure that we bond and we all help each other out in this business. As you came to office, I have no secretary. People come in, walk in and out of my office as if it's their office, and everyone contributes. You saw it now when you came in. Everybody wants to come and add their own contribution on how this interview is going to happen, and it's from everywhere. So we have that sense of, so everyone takes ownership for the business, and from there, after you put that in, you put in the processes. After the people, you put in the processes, the efficient processes, which is one of the things we did. So, and again, which is where I think, because we do not know how things were done. None of us knew how things were done. we thought it out. So what is the best way, efficient way of having the processes for maintenance? And we put those things in place. Like, our tenants should be the ones to start work orders. Because why? Because facility managers, if you wait for a facility manager to start a work order, he might start it 1 hour later. But really, the problem starts when the client first responds. So our operational system actually captures it from when the client first picks up the call and says there's a problem, or puts in the app or whatever as an email. Then our SLA time starts from there, because that is really when it starts. But typically what we do in Nigeria is that the ones that have technology is that until the facility manager site sends an email, or he goes onto his software and puts it in. So it's the things like that were things that we thought about, that we just thought from scratch. So we developed our own software. So that's things like that we work together with our software developers. So rather than taking something off the shelf when it comes to technology, we decided that we want to be involved in developing our software ourselves. So that's where we've invested a lot in technology. But then anyone trying to come to this business, what I advise them is technology is the last thing you think about. You think of your people, you think of your processes, then you think of your technology. So that is what I think is different to us, and we haven't started yet. So wait till you haven't heard about us yet. We know we have a lot of things planned out for this year that hopefully would be new ideas, and we're constantly improving. We came from below. As I said, this business was around for 20 years, and it started to go downhill. But we've started to. So we're coming from the bottom, and we're pulling ourselves back up again. So a lot more things that we know we can improve, but we are constantly investing in our improvements. don't think it's only facility management. There's a lack of. I think it's typically services. I see it everywhere, especially architects, project managers, facility managers, anyone that provides service, anything that you can't see the tangible product at the end of it. There is a lack of knowledge or understanding of what these people are bringing onto the table. They say we don't like to pay consultants in Nigeria. They say paperwork. We're paying for. They want to see. They want Nigerians. We want to see the asset. What we're paying for. So yes, so there's a lack of knowledge, and it's the same everywhere. Where it's a short-minded vision, where we only see what we want to see, and we're only focused on the asset, and we don't see all the other things that are attached to it. So we don't have a long-term vision when it comes to the thing. And I don't think it's only about properties. I think there's many things in Nigeria that we only have ability to see the short term and not the long-term impact that decisions can make. So yes, there's a lack of knowledge, both from the clients. So the clients not understanding what a real facility management company is, and what proofs and so what we can provide further than what they can provide themselves. And also from the government perspective, where they also don't understand why they need facility management in the public, and not just on the bringing in, how to monitor these things. Because as I said, facility management is not just soft. No, I mean, when you say facility management, you think of the technical services, the hard services, which is electrical, plumbing, HVAC maintenance, generator maintenance. But facility management is also the soft services, which is the cleaning, gardening, security, and such. So we're already in a way having to implement these things, but not in a. But what the facility management does is that they optimize how these things are operate. So not just from the budget side of stuff, but also from the monitoring side of stuff. Because if you think of construction, right? If we take this building, no one just gives you money and say build. They give you a BOQ. So they give you a standard that they want you to build to. But for city management, they don't really give you that standard. There isn't a BOQ. They'll just say bring 5 cleaners. But what facility management does is that they now put standards in place on how does this person clean this building. Or is it generator? They don't say maintain this generator. They say, okay, fine. How do you maintain this generator? So you put a standard in place to make sure these things stand the test of time and are maintained to the optimal position, which in the long term saves you cost. Because as we said, as we say in facility management, that if you have a preventive maintenance plan, you can save up to 60% of the cost of that asset. Because why? Because you're servicing rather than replacing. You service things proactively. So FM is a proactive service, not a reactive, which is the main thing that people don't understand. That is not reactive. That if facility management is a reactive service, you don't need a facility manager, you need a technician. Facility manager is a solutions provider. It's about making things don't happen. It's about looking at things and providing a service. So you're a solutions provider, you're not a technician. But in Nigeria, we seem to confuse that thing of where we think facility managers are technicians. If my generator breaks down in my house and it's about fixing the generator, then what do I need a facility manager for? What I have to is called the generator maintenance person. What my facility manager's job is on my site is to make sure that the generator doesn't break down, and understanding what the client's problem is. I say this, we talk about this a lot in my office, that if a generator breaks down, if something happened, let's say in this room, the AC stops working. A technician's job is to face that AC and fix the AC. A facility manager's job is to understand what the problem is. The problem is that this room is hot. My client is hot. So what is the fastest way of getting this room cool for my client? If the fastest way of getting that thing cool for my client is facing the AC, and that's what he faces. But then if there's another way of getting this room cool faster, then his job is to think of that. So that is what we pay facility managers for, to have the ability to think outside the box, to see what the actual problem is and solve it. But then that's on a reactive service. But as I said, it's also the preventive service, which is the planned service, where you come in and you have to think about all the things that can happen on this side and always have a plan ready, so that the client does not feel. So even if a technical thing happens, the client doesn't feel it. And making sure technical things don't happen. So a facility manager is, yes, it's good to know the technical side of stuff, but it's not a technical job. It's the ability to think and solve problems and prevent problems. That is our idea of what's our own idealistic belief of what facility management is and what we try to do here. And that's why now if you come into my office now, my CFO is 32. I told you I'm 31. Average age of my office is maybe 30, 31. Our operations manager is 28. All the 70 sites we're running is all under a 28-year-old. And he's doing this job better than anybody has done in the last 20 years of this building. So as I said, it's having the ability to think innovatively with all the technologies and the ideas around in the market now. I was in a meeting downstairs. They're talking about bringing drones into the business, into inspection of sites, and that's their business. I mean, I said, why not? Push the envelope. That's why we are here. Yes, push it. I've been opportune to work, as I said, with a lot of state governments and work with a lot of major federal government parastatals in setting up their facility management policies and structures. And one thing that I've realized and we've come to see is the problem is not lack of funding, as from my own perspective. There's money, there's a budget put down in any of these government parts. There's the money that is put down for the maintenance of these assets. But you see, the difference between construction and maintenance is that if you give me 100 million naira and tell me go and construct something, 5 years, 10 years from now, I can point to the thing that I constructed for that 100 million naira that you gave to me. But when it comes to maintenance, right, there's no way of seeing what people did. I can tell you now that I cleaned this room I used 10 million naira to clean this room yesterday. How are you going to be able to prove I did or I did not do? I can say I changed these bulbs 20 times last year. How are you going to prove? I can just make paperwork around it. How are you going to prove that I did change it? So the problem is that you cannot see the service of facility management. So when you can't see it, you cannot provide evidence of it. So what's happening now in government is that money is going, so there's a huge budget that goes into maintenance of assets. But the problem is that that's where it stops. There's no monitoring, there's no standards, but there's no way of monitoring these things to make sure that these things are done. So the money is coming in, but the money is going out and not going where it's meant to go. So that's what facility management standards, and that's what a facility management consultant is meant to come in to do that's what we are trying to do. Is that when we come in, we put in policies and structures in place, we put in the operational strategy, but we now put the monitoring strategy on how the pastor can now monitor these things. So it's not about funding from my own analysis, my own little analysis in the industry. It's about monitoring, it's about putting strong monitoring standards. So I talked about the BOQ, first putting like a BOQ on, so first developing a BOQ. You don't tell the person that's going to operate how they're going to, the person that's meant to operate is not the one that's meant to tell you how he's going to operate. If I'm going to build a house for you, I'm not the one that's going to tell you how I'm going to be. If I'm the construction, you get an architect who designs the house, and then you get the contractor who builds the house. It's two different things. So the person that's going to operate the house is not the one that designs how you're going to do the house, or else I'll cut corners when it comes to my operation. So you need to bring somebody in that first designs how this place should be maintained to international standards. Then you bring the facility manager operator to now operate in line with what the designer, which is the facility manager consultant, has put in place. That is the most important thing first. And then the architect, the facility management designer, which I'm calling it the consultant, must also now say, okay, fine, how does the parastatal now put checks and balances to make sure these things are done when they're meant to be done? That if the office is meant to be cleaned, what are they using to be what standards are they using to clean this office? What materials are they using to clean this office? Those kind of things need to be defined before you bring in a facility manager to come and maintain these things. Just so that, because as I said, like Nigeria, this is not a Nigerian thing, around the world, that it's about consequence. If you give me a contract 100 million, you'll say clean this house. My only job then as a businessman, and is my right is to figure out how I'm going to maintain this place at the lowest cost. So keep as much money. I'll just bring 3 people here, and they'll be cleaning this place when this place really needs 10 people. So you understand, the designer must define these things. That's what the consultancy is involved with. Don't let the operator define it. So that's one step that facility management is a new standard, and and is a new, and then not just that, but also having the monitoring, not because of facility management, even the individuals in the thing. When somebody gets the money, as I said, it's easy for you to divert money, much easier. The easiest place to divert, I think, is a hidden secret in Nigeria. One of the easiest way to divert money is facility management. It's not construction, it's not anything else, because anything else you can track, all this oil and gas, because you can see if it happened or not. Facility management, after today goes, there's no way of you knowing what I did yesterday. How are you going to know if I cleaned this place yesterday? How are you going to know what I did yesterday? So when a new government comes, how are they going to know what that facility management budget? They can't show evidence one way or the other. So that's my own two takes. It's about not just about the operations, but it's about the strategy in front, and then the monitoring at the back. It's not just the facility management operations in the middle. I think that politics also plays a part in all of these things, where what gives you political points is delivering the assets. It's not how you maintain it at the end of things. Where you must, and I'm not talking about this government, I'm talking about in general, when it comes to government involvement in capital projects. There's always a part of politics that is played. And what's happened now is that obviously the focus is delivering the product, and that is where it stopped. But the maintenance of the product, because that is what gets you brownie points when people see that you have put the rail in place. But then what happens is that there's obviously, as you said, there's other things that needs to be there to make sure this thing is sustained. That maybe it's Nigeria, maybe 4 years is not enough. That you're only thinking about the first 4 years or the 8 years, but you're not thinking of the 20 years, because 20 years they're not going to be there again. And that's what the issue is now, is that we have to get selfless leaders that are not doing it just for their own individual, political, whatever, but also see the longevity, think of Nigeria as a whole, which is putting money, because it's money now. It's about, especially now, money is a scarce resource. Especially now with oil thing now, but then putting money, so this is money that I'm sure they're investing in somewhere else, but putting it into the maintenance of these things. So not just about the term that they are there, but it's for Nigeria's sake as a whole. So yes, I'm not sure, honestly. I won't pretend as if I know about what maintenance plans are put on the railway and stuff like that, but then it is something that I've seen over time, where we are very quick to put nice things out there, but you go there 2-3 years later and it's gone. It's finished. Why? The government has gone. The government did what they did. They have announced in the campaign thing that they put X number of hospitals or X number of schools. They did it. So it was about volume, not quality, which is the truth. That how many schools they built, how many they put the airports, they put the rail, whatever. But then, did they really think of Nigeria and now think of how they're going to maintain this moving forward, or putting money in place? So yes, so that's my hope is not the same that is happening now when it comes to the railway, and I hope that if anyone's listening, that I'm not saying Filmo, but we're available. If I find a facility management consultant first, not an operator, a consultant to come in first and put in the procedure in place for what's it called, how to maintain these assets. After the consultant comes in, then do you bring in so once the consultant comes and puts in the standards that is necessary, then do you bring in a facility management operator to come and operate in line with those standards? And there's a unit there's a unit there that's monitoring and making sure these people are sticking to the standards that the facility management architect, the consultant, put in place. My advice to young Nigerians is the same advice I tell my facility managers here, that my ambition in life is no more important than their ambition in life. Because I sit here and they sit there doesn't mean that I expect to become a billionaire and they don't, or whatever the case is. So my expectation in life is there's a lot of value in thinking, and because of that there's no other reason, because it was only because of that we got opportunities. So yes, I know that there's this belief that nothing can happen without money or investment and all of that, but then they have to also realize that there is value in thinking of ideas, and that's one thing that my generation, I think that we have, that The business, the industry, the world is changing. There are things that we think about that the older generation cannot think about. And they should figure out how they can optimize that. And yes, and as I said, there's no reason why. And respect others. That's one thing I really. You never know other people are going to be. And you might be here, and that's one thing that we have in this office. That, as I said, everybody. I don't believe everybody has a cap in what they're going to achieve in life. Anybody can become anything, and we definitely believe that. And that's why, if you come here as people that started as security guards are now admin officers, we invest all of. We invest in schooling for our security guards, for our drivers, and stuff like that, so that they can also achieve more in life. So they, as you see, they're all coming through the system from wherever they are. And they come in, they talk, and they tell me what they want to do. They want to become admin, they want to become procurement, and we go ahead and we say, fine. What do we need? Let's give you that opportunity. So not just that. So it's also giving. So not just from them, yes, but everybody needs help. I won't say that I did this myself. I did not do this myself. Me sitting here until now, I still have people helping me. So also for the people that can help. So me too. That's the thing. So I'm not just talking to the youth, the people that say issues. I'm also talking to the people that have been given something. Everything comes from God. No one gets anything themselves. So you might just be a vehicle from God to give to somebody else. My name is Lukman Edu. I'm now the CEO of Filmo Group, and I went to Imperial College and London School of Economics. So I've worked in major oil and gas companies, major banks, major technology companies, and I've now landed here in Filmo Group as the CEO. So my background is business management and finance and strategy.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.